There is a battlefield that no map can chart and no army can conquer, for it lies within. It is the conflict between who we are and who we are meant to be. This is not a struggle of swords and shields, but of will, desire, and resolve. It is the eternal contest of you vs you. The fiercest battles are not fought against external enemies, but within the chambers of our own hearts. This truth, though simple, carries with it the weight of our deepest struggles. How often do we look outside ourselves for the source of our challenges? We blame circumstances, point fingers at others, or lament the unfairness of life. Yet the real enemy often dwells within, silent but persistent, shaping our thoughts, our choices, and ultimately our destiny. To confront this internal battle requires courage, for it demands that we face not just what we wish to see, but also what we wish to hide. The struggle begins when we recognize that we are both the hero and the villain of our own story. Within each of us lies a dual nature, a higher self, calling us to rise, to grow, to step into our purpose, and a lower self, pulling us toward comfort, apathy, and fear. This inner conflict is not a flaw, but a feature of our humanity, a tension designed to refine us. It is through this struggle that we discover who we truly are. Growth does not come from ease, but from effort. The very resistance we face in the battle against ourselves is what strengthens us. Facing this battle requires honesty. The mirror of self-reflection does not flatter, it reveals. It shows us the parts of ourselves we would rather ignore, the selfish tendencies, the hidden fears, the laziness disguised as contentment. But it also reveals something beautiful: potential. Within each flaw lies the seed of transformation. What we perceive as weakness is often an untapped strength, waiting to be cultivated. To see ourselves clearly is not to despair, but to hope, for only when we acknowledge where we are can we begin the journey to where we want to be. This battle is not won through sheer willpower alone. Willpower may carry us for a time, but it falters when the road grows steep. What we need is a deeper motivation, a reason to fight that goes beyond ourselves. This is where purpose enters the equation. When we anchor our lives to something greater, whether it is a calling, a responsibility, or a vision of what could be, we find the strength to press on, even when the struggle feels overwhelming. Purpose turns the battle into a mission and transforms every setback into a stepping stone. Yet, let us not underestimate the difficulty of this fight. The enemy within is cunning and relentless. It speaks in the language of excuses, telling us it's too late, you're not enough, or this is just who you are. These lies, though subtle, have the power to derail us if we are not vigilant. To overcome them, we must arm ourselves with truth. Truth reminds us that we are not bound by our past, that growth is always possible, and that our worth is not determined by our performance, but by the very fact of our existence. This internal battle is lifelong, but it is not without reward. With every victory, no matter how small, we draw closer to the person we were created to be. Each time we choose discipline over indulgence, courage over fear, and love over selfishness, we take a step forward. These steps, though they may seem insignificant in the moment, add up to a life of meaning and impact. The battle within is not one we face alone. There is a grace that sustains us, a strength beyond our own that lifts us when we falter. To fight well is not to fight perfectly, but to fight faithfully, trusting that every effort we make, however small, is part of a greater work unfolding within us. And so as we face the daily challenge of you vs you, let us do so with courage, knowing that the fight is worth it, for in this battle we do not merely conquer, we become. Facing the truth about ourselves is one of the most profound and challenging tasks we will ever undertake. The mirror of self, both literal and metaphorical, often shows us what we would rather not see. It reflects not only our strengths but also our weaknesses, not just our triumphs but our failures, not merely the person we present to the world, but the person we are when no one is looking. This kind of self-examination requires courage because it strips away the layers of pretense and forces us to confront our most vulnerable truths. Yet it is in this confrontation that real growth begins. To see ourselves clearly is to embrace both humility and hope. Humility because we must acknowledge our imperfections, our flaws, and our limitations. Hope because in recognizing these truths, we also uncover the potential for change, the seeds of transformation waiting to be nurtured. It is a paradox that the very act of admitting our weaknesses can make us stronger. When we stop pretending to be something we are not, we create space to become something greater. Self-reflection, however, is not a one-time act. It is a practice, a discipline that requires intentionality. It is far easier to distract ourselves with busyness or to focus on the faults of others than it is to turn inward and ask, who am I becoming? Yet the answer to this question is the foundation of our lives. The decisions we make, the relationships we build, the legacy we leave all flow from the person we are at our core. To ignore the state of our inner life is to forfeit control of our destiny. One of the most powerful aspects of facing the mirror of self is the freedom it brings. When we are honest about who we are no longer bound by the need to prove ourselves to others. We no longer have to wear masks or uphold facades. This authenticity allows us to live with greater integrity and purpose. It also deepens our connections with others, for when we are real about our struggles and our growth, we invite others to do the same. Yet, self-reflection is not without its challenges. It requires us to confront the gap between who we are and who we aspire to be. This gap can be uncomfortable, even painful, but it is also a gift. It reminds us that growth is possible, that we are not finished products but works in progress. The discomfort we feel when we see our shortcomings is not meant to discourage us but to motivate us. It is a signal that there is more within us waiting to be developed. Growth begins when we embrace our imperfections not as excuses but as opportunities. The person who sees their impatience can learn to cultivate patience. The one who recognizes their fear can take steps toward courage. The one who acknowledges their selfishness can choose generosity. These changes do not happen overnight, but they begin with the willingness to look in the mirror and say, "This is where I am, but it is not where I have to stay." The mirror of self also reveals our strengths, though these can sometimes be harder to accept than our weaknesses. False humility may tell us to downplay our gifts, to minimize the talents and abilities that make us unique. But to deny our strengths is as harmful as ignoring our flaws. Our strengths are not given to us for our benefit alone. They are meant to be shared, to build up others and contribute to the world around us. Recognizing and using these strengths is an act of gratitude and stewardship. Facing the mirror of self is about embracing the truth, the full truth of who we are, both broken and beautiful, flawed and full of potential. It is about choosing to grow, not because we are inadequate, but because we are capable of more. It is about living with integrity, becoming the person we were created to be, and stepping into a life of purpose and impact. The mirror does not lie, but neither does it limit. What it shows us is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new chapter. Each day presents us with choices, and while some may seem trivial, others bear the weight of shaping who we are becoming. The choices we make, moment by moment, do not merely reflect our current selves, they actively construct our future selves. This truth is both humbling and empowering, for it places the pen of our story firmly in our hands. It is through these choices that the road to greatness is paved, not by dramatic leaps, but by small, consistent steps rooted in purpose. Every choice is an opportunity. It is a chance to move closer to the person we aspire to be or to drift further from that vision. This reality invites us to take our decisions seriously, not with paralyzing fear, but with a sense of intentionality and hope. The challenge lies in understanding that the significance of a choice is not always apparent in the moment. Choosing to wake up early, to listen instead of speaking, or to pursue discipline over indulgence may seem minor, but such decisions compound over time. Like drops of water shaping a stone, small, purposeful choices carve out a life of meaning and impact. But the path is not always clear. There will be moments of doubt when the way forward seems shrouded in uncertainty. It is in these moments that our values and purpose act as a compass. Without a clear sense of what truly matters to us, we risk being swayed by fleeting emotions or external pressures. Purpose anchors us, reminding us of why we began the journey and urging us to keep going even when the road grows difficult. When our choices are rooted in purpose, they become more than mere actions, they become acts of alignment with who we are meant to be. Yet making purposeful choices is rarely easy. The allure of comfort and convenience is strong, and the path of least resistance often calls loudly. But comfort, though tempting, is a poor guide. It may shield us from hardship in the moment, but it also stunts our growth and limits our potential. True greatness is forged in the crucible of challenge, where effort and perseverance transform raw potential into realized strength. Every time we choose to push through discomfort or delay gratification, We are training ourselves for greater victories ahead. This process also requires humility, for to choose wisely often means admitting when we have chosen poorly in the past. There will be times when we falter, when we give in to fear, laziness, or distraction. But failure, while painful, is not final. Each misstep is an opportunity to learn, to recalibrate, and to choose differently next time. It is not the absence of mistakes that defines us, but the willingness to grow from them. To be human is to stumble to be great, is to rise again, wiser and stronger. Another vital element in this journey is consistency. The road to greatness is not paved by one grand gesture, but by countless small, faithful steps. It is easy to be inspired in the moment, to make bold resolutions and dream big dreams. But inspiration fades, and when it does, discipline must take its place. Discipline is the quiet, steady force that keeps us moving forward when the initial excitement wanes. It is the commitment to show up, to try again, and to stay the course even when progress feels slow or unseen. At its core, the power of choice lies in its ability to shape not only our actions but also our character. With each decision, we are becoming a person of integrity or compromise, courage or fear, purpose or apathy. This realization is both a challenge and a gift, for it reminds us that we are not passive recipients of life, but active participants in our own transformation. In the end, greatness is not a destination, but a journey, one built brick by brick through the choices we make. It is the result of living with intentionality, of aligning our actions with our values and purpose. Each decision, no matter how small, is an opportunity to step closer to the person we were created to be. And so as the day unfolds before us, let us choose wisely, knowing that the road to greatness begins here, in this moment with this choice. True triumph over oneself is not achieved through brute force or fleeting bursts of motivation, but through a delicate balance of grace and discipline. These two forces, though seemingly opposite, work together in harmony to guide us toward transformation. Without grace, discipline becomes rigid and exhausting, and without discipline, grace becomes passive and unfruitful. Together, they provide the strength and the gentleness needed to overcome the battles within and to shape a life of purpose and meaning. Grace begins with an understanding that we are imperfect beings, and yet we are deeply valued and loved. It is the force that reminds us that failure is not the end, that setbacks do not define us, and that growth is always possible. Grace meets us in our struggles, lifting us when we stumble and offering a fresh start when we feel we've fallen too far. It whispers that our worth is not tied to our performance, but to our inherent dignity as human beings. This knowledge is liberating because it frees us from the crushing weight of perfectionism. We are not required to be flawless, we are invited to be faithful. Yet, grace does not absolve us of responsibility. Instead, it empowers us to take responsibility with renewed strength and hope. This is where discipline enters the picture. Discipline is the daily practice of aligning our actions with our values and purpose. It is the quiet determination to do what must be done, even when it is inconvenient or uncomfortable. While grace lifts us, discipline grounds us. It transforms intention into action and dreams into reality. Discipline is not about punishment or rigid control, it is about training. Just as an athlete trains their body to achieve peak performance, we train our hearts and minds to become the best version of ourselves. This training is not glamorous, it often involves repetitive, unseen acts of faithfulness. It is the decision to wake up early and pursue growth when no one else is watching, to stay committed to our goals when the initial excitement fades, and to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. These small, consistent acts of discipline build character and resilience over time. But discipline without grace can become a heavy burden. When we rely solely on our own strength, we eventually burn out. We become harsh with ourselves, and every misstep feels like a failure that confirms our worst fears. This is why grace is so essential. It softens the edges of discipline and reminds us that growth is a process, not a destination. Grace allows us to rest without guilt, to celebrate progress without demanding perfection, and to pick ourselves up without shame when we falter. On the other hand, grace without discipline can leave us stagnant. It can lull us into complacency, where we accept our flaws without striving for improvement. True grace, however, inspires action. It does not say you are fine as you are, so do nothing. Instead, it says you are deeply loved, and because of that love, you can become so much more. Grace gives us the courage to face our weaknesses, while discipline gives us the tools to overcome them. Together, grace and discipline teach us the rhythm of progress. Grace says, begin again, while discipline says, keep going. Grace reminds us to be kind to ourselves, and discipline reminds us to hold ourselves accountable. This balance allows us to navigate the tension between who we are and who we are becoming with both patience and perseverance. The journey of overcoming oneself is not about eliminating every flaw or achieving some unattainable ideal. It is about becoming more aligned with our purpose, growing in character, and living with integrity. Grace and discipline are the companions that guide us on this journey. They remind us that while the road may be challenging, it is also deeply rewarding. With grace to lift us and discipline to guide us, we can face the battles within and emerge stronger, wiser, and more fully alive. The battle of you vs. you is the most significant fight you will ever face, for it is the struggle to align who you are with who you are called to be. It is not a conflict fought once and forgotten, but a daily journey of choices, growth, and transformation. Each moment presents an opportunity to rise above doubt, regret, and fear, to look honestly into the mirror of self, and to choose purpose over apathy, courage over comfort, and grace over self-condemnation. In this fight, remember that the path to greatness is not about perfection but perseverance. It is about embracing both the strength of discipline and the gentleness of grace, knowing that each step forward, no matter how small, carries you closer to the fullness of life. The challenges you face, the missteps you take, and the victories you claim are all part of a story that is uniquely yours, a story of resilience, growth, and becoming. As you stand in the arena of you vs. you know the fight is worth it. For on the other side of this battle lies a life of meaning, integrity, and purpose. You are not fighting to prove your worth, but to uncover it, not striving for perfection, but stepping into the greatness already within you. So rise each day with courage, fight with intention, and live with the knowledge that this battle, though challenging, is the one that leads to true triumph. The choice is yours. Choose well and fight faithfully.